All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all honor, all praise, and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Arachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the tabernacle of David, the full elect that are scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, this is the actual video, of the Edomite that, made the statement that, basically all so-called black men that recite the Old Testament, that they all should be executed, that they should be put to death. I mean, where have we seen this before? I mean, we have the history, being attacked for actually, standing up for the legacy of righteousness, our heritage, our true culture, not black culture, but the law, statutes, and commandments, which was our custom, it was our way of, governing. We know that the law was a schoolmaster. It was a guardian to us, to keep us on the right track until the standard of faith, was implemented, all right, through Yahushai. So now you got this devil, this right-wing extremist, he's on his platform, and he's saying all these things that a lot of these racist, white conservative right-wing Edomites, how they, what they truly feel about Jake. And it's all internalized hatred, and it's all psychological projection at the end of the day. They want us to be seen as, the biggest villains that's committing all these crimes. That's why the spirit got us on them. Especially me. I've been on their neck ever since this whole C. Kirk PSY. I just the way that they are trying to paint the narrative because their empire's falling, and they're trying to blame us for it. Hey, the Lord said that He was going to consume them by the spirit of His mouth, and the prophets, that they represent the Lord's mouth. He speak by the mouth of the prophets. So yeah, you're gonna get hewn down. All right. Matter of fact, let me grab that, because y'all know y'all being affected. That's why all of a sudden you're making these violent retorts. Let's get was it Micah? Not Micah. I think it's Hosea. Hold up. Yep, here it is. Hosea 6:5. It says, "Therefore have I hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth." All right, and the law, statutes, commandments will never depart from out of our mouth. When you read Isaiah 59th chapter, the last verse says that this word shall not depart from out of thy mouth, or out of thy the mouth of thy seed and thy seed forever. All right, so as long as we got the word of the Lord in our mouths, which is the law, the prophets, and the Holy Spirit being upon us, yeah, these devils are going to be affected, because the word of the Most High is the truth. In scripture, the Yahushai says, "Sanctify them by thy truth. Thy word is true." All right, and this devil, he's been so used to, the lies and the deception inherited by his own forefathers that they, projected unto the world. And now that the truth is springing forth, that had no fruit, the truth being declared, they're being affected. Now they're in their feelings. They're getting exposed constantly, and they're hurt by it. So they figure, hey, these dudes are a threat. It says, "Therefore have I hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth. And thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. All right. And this word cut like a two-edged sword, man. There's more sharper, there's more quick and sharper than any two-edged sword, man. And it's powerful. Let's get that as well. And these devils know that they can't deal with us when it comes to this. You know, Esau would rather go the other route, you know, take it the violent route, you know, because that's the only way he can, you know, have an advantage is when he resort to his sword that he was blessed with. Hebrews 4:12, it says, for the word of the Most High is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and the intents of the heart. Okay. So let's get into this devil's feelings, because out of the abundance of the heart do a man speak. Now let's listen to the, you know, post Charlie Kirk right wing, you know, audience. And so you can hear the vitriol and the hate. So let's listen.
Why? Because the characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete, they are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy, they look like Satan in how they act. They are sinful to the core. They have beset.
You see how, and it's laughable to hear this coming from these devils, man. I'm pretty sure most of y'all done seen the videos that I put up earlier this week when I went into that whole thread on that forum site. You see all the different tweets, all right, on all the different crimes, heinous, sick, you know, evil crimes that's being committed by his race of people. You know, this is all psychological projection. All right. Everything that he's saying about us can be applied to him and his nation 100 times over, 1,000 times over. This is what you devils have been doing. This is how you got to the top. This is how you are in this dominant position. You murdered, you committed genocide, you raped, you stole. And you want to talk about culture, you stole from everybody. You don't even have your original identity because you didn't took everyone else's. So this is all projection. Let's revisit that term real quick. Psychological projection. Psychological projection is a defense mechanism in which an individual attributes their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or behaviors to another person or a group. That's exactly what this is. Okay. Hey, Haman. Okay. He did all this blaming and you know, he tried to paint a narrative to the king about the Jews to you know, get us all slain, only to come to find out that, you know, it was his own insecurities and it was his own inner feelings and behavior that was you know, that the king should have known, you know, being, you know, next to this devil. You know, because at the end of the day, what ended up happening? They ended up going to war. The Persians ended up going to war with the Macedonians. And the scripture in the Apocrypha says that Haman, him being a Agagite, which is an Amalekite, he was a Macedonian. All right. So These devils, they'll psychologically project before they try to make their move against you. It's always been a mechanism that they've used. Let me do this real quick. And that's why I think of vocab and his hypocrisy. And he claiming that we're persecuting them, and then he's trying to use those Nigerians being killed to try to, lump himself in that persecution. Ain't nobody persecuting you. When you're the main one on the offensive, you're the one that's stalking and harassing brothers at different various camps all across the world, man. Let's go to Chat GPT. I already know it's about to be some smoke on here. I'm gonna just type this in. Was what Haman did against Mordecai and the Jews psychological projection. Now watch this. Yep. Yes, what Haman did in the book of Esther can be interpreted as an example of psychological projection. Good, because they're the devil. All right, they're very cunning. They're masterful with their deceit. They know how to paint narratives, manipulate minds. They're good at this, man. Make you feel like a whole other individual is such an evil creature, and you start to think about them, and that's to take the heat off of they self. All the wickedness that they do. It says, particularly if we look at his actions and attitudes through a psychological lens, with his psychological projection. Projection is a defense mechanism in which a person attributes their own unwanted thoughts, feelings, or motives to someone else. For example, someone who harbors hostility might accuse others of being hostile toward them. And that is exactly what they tried to do when you had that incident, which was weird. At this point, you should already know that whole shit was staged. But that incident on that train, okay, there was some straight bullshit, but they used that to say, oh, see, look. And then I did that video where that Edomite professor, I think he was a high school professor, but he was arguing with his students and claimed that, we're born or taught to have hatred for Esau, when it's actually the other way around. So this is one of their traits. This is how you know that the Edomites are still here, because Haman, who was an Edomite, he had the same trait. He says Haman's behavior and context. It says in the biblical book of Esther, Haman harbors extreme pride and insecurity, just like these devils today. He is obsessed with power, honor, and recognition. That word criminal, in the land of Israel, okay, BB, all these elite devils. All right, it says feels personally slighted by Mordecai, who refuses to bow to him and interprets this as a grave offense. Yeah, and these white supremacists, they think that you Jakes, really everybody, but especially Jake, you should be bowing to them. They made you worship their image and gave you plantation Christianity, so they want you to bow to them. All right, and hey, in the spirit, the elected, they are going to have the same braveness to not bow down to the image of the beast, because the devil is going to want us to bow to his this new system and cooperate, accept it, That's going to be your new Godhead. You got to serve that. And the first start is, we're going to crash this system. We're going to squeeze the people, make you dependent. We're going to give you digital IDs. It's going to link you into a credit-based system. So they're going to feel slighted by the fact that we're going to resist this damn beast and his image. All right. We're going to resist his mark. It says 3, projects his anger onto an entire group, which is what this devil's doing on that platform. So instead of dealing directly with Mordecai, he seeks to destroy all Judites, portraying them as a dangerous, rebellious people. And what is he saying about us? Based on the undesirables among our people. All right. Yeah, and the scriptures call out our people about how they're sottish children, they're wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. Scriptures say he has a controversy with our people because of what? Because they commit adultery, they steal, blood toucheth blood. And the Lord's he's gonna deal with our people. But that's not for you to say, because you're guilty as charged for everything you've done. Hosea 4:1, it says, hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel, for the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there's no truth nor mercy, nor knowledge of the Most High in the land. Our people, they're totally gone. They're going backwards. And the Most High, he said that his heart could not be toward this people. And their own sins basically turns them away from their own blessings, man. All right, that's why Jake is cursed. It says, by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touches blood. So it is true about our people. But like I said, that's not for him to speak. Not when you're you're the ultimate culprit of violence and ungodliness and sexual deviant behavior on earth. That's all you. And our people became the way they became once they integrated with you. All right. This is in the NLT. It says, verse 2, it says, you make vows and break them, you kill and steal and commit adultery. There is violence everywhere, one murder after another. And it's usually Jake versus Jake. All right, Jake ain't harming these other nations like they harm each other, because they're under that curse, man. Our eyes shall be evil towards thy brother. Okay. Anyway, so going back, so you see number 3, projecting his anger onto the Jews, saying that basically we're dangerous, we're rebellious. And he sent that letter to Xerxes about how there is a rebellious group whose laws are different from everyone else, and they're not going to basically submit themselves to the enterprise, so to speak. I mean, this kingdom can't go on as long as you got these radical, rebellious people that have a diverse law that goes against your kingdom. So he was trying to rile up the king against us. This is additions to Esther 13:3. It says, now when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, Haman, that excelled in wisdom among us and was approved for his constant goodwill and steadfast fidelity, and had the honor of the second place in the kingdom, declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there was scattered a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations. So he even tried to vilify the law. Right? So it's a threat that we keep this particular law, that we practice this law, we meditate on this law, and it is part of what separated us from these other nations. It made us holy. All right. It says, and continually despise the commandments of kings, so as the uniting of our kingdoms honorably intended by us cannot go forward. Meaning these niggas are in our way. Right. Just like today. The Israelites, man, they in the way. There's too many of them out there. There's too many of them waking up. And they out there reading the Bible. They out there reciting the law. And the law is contrary to this land, even though you founded it upon the, the book that contains the law. You hypocrites. It says, seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, and evil affected to our state, working all the mischief they can that our kingdom may not be firmly established. Therefore have we commanded that all they that are signified in writing unto you by Haman, who is ordained over the affairs and is next unto us, shall all with their wives and children be utterly by the sword destroyed. Be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies without all mercy and pity, the 14th day of the 12th month Adar of this present year. So this is what he suggested to the king that should be done. You know, as a you know, a penalty. This should be executed. Get all their wives, get all their children, get all of them. You know, and don't show no mercy, no pity. And that's Esau all the way. They'll never show that because the hatred runs deep. Going back to that enmity that the Lord said he would put between the seed of the serpent and the woman. All right. So let's go back. And then 4, it says, accuses the Jews of disloyalty, saying their customs are different and that they do not obey the king's laws, even though he himself is manipulating the king and seeking to abuse power. Okay. Projection in Haman's actions. Haman's plan to annihilate the Israelites may reflect his own inner fears and desire for total control. Consider these elements: fear of being overthrown or disrespected. In Esau right now, his fear is being outpopulated, outnumbered. And too many of us are waking up to the truth. That's their fear. Because they see us out there reading the law. They see us out there, reciting the commandments, basically waking our people up, bringing them back to repentance, because the law is there to show us our sin. So the idea of Jake waking up and repenting to our God, that's a threat to them. And that's why they tried to, back in slave days, they didn't even want us to read the scriptures. We would have got killed if we were caught reading the Bible. Because, hey, who knows if it will spark a rebellion, right? Word to Gabriel Prosser, Nate Turner, or it's like a Nat Turner, and etc. Says Mordecai's refusal to bow makes Haman feel vulnerable. Rather than admit this fear, he frames the Israelites as a threat to the kingdom. Desire for absolute loyalty. Haman wants uniform compliance, and they want us to continue to be obedient to their plantation Christian doctrine. Go along with their theology, so that we can remain docile, subservient to white supremacy. That's their desire, to bring Jake back to that estate. But that ain't happening, man. We in a new time. We're in a new era. It says Mordecai's descent is intolerable, so he claims the Judites are inherently rebellious. And hey, in a roundabout way, that's exactly what vocab is doing as well. We're challenging his theology that he learned from his masters, his overlords, through the theological seminary, and the fact that we're defying it, and he's been fighting tooth and nail for the last decade, and it's not really doing anything, but bringing more ears and eyes to our ministry. Like the scripture say, you can't do nothing against the truth before it. So he sees this as an act of rebellion. Now he'll try to gaslight and act as if our theology is erroneous, is wrong. What we're teaching is radical, is this and that. But he wouldn't dare talk about John Calvin, because he's a Calvinist. And John Calvin, that devil, he actually believed in having those who oppose his theology executed. Look up a man by the name of Michael Servetus. Look up that history. So Calvin, he was a persecutor. But here it is, John Mark Reiser, aka Vocab. He want to talk about persecution. He says self-interest masked as concern for the state. Haman convinced the king that destroying the Israelites, the Judites, is for the empire's benefit. In reality, it's personal vengeance. And that's this same devil. All right. He thinks getting rid of Jake would solve the problems, but it's really his own. Because you could take away Jake, you can slay us all or ship us all back, to Africa or wherever they think we came from. We're the true Israelites, but let's say all of Jake left America. You still gonna have these fucking wild ass crimes. Still gonna be incest going on. It's still gonna be bestiality going on. It's still gonna be Edomite on Edomite crime going on. Because it's been happening. And this is how they're inherently naturally are. Anyway. Oh, now let me get this now. Because it says, all of this mirrors classic projection, where a person projects their own pride, fear, or aggression onto others to justify harmful actions. That's exactly what this devil has been doing. So let me grab this in Matthew 7:1. It says, do not judge others and you will not be judged, for you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? How can you think of saying to your friend, let me help you get rid of that speck in your eye, when you can't see past the log in your own eye? Hypocrite. First, get rid of the log in your own eye. Then you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. Just imagine Esau, basically saying that Jacob, he's the one, he's the evil one that has all this hatred and wants to pursue me with the sword. Imagine Esau saying that to Jacob. That's what they're doing. And they're doing that to justify their willingness and desire to do exactly what they're accusing Jake of. That's why the scriptures say the accuser of the brethren is cast down. When the Lord deals with them, he's going to finally be cast down. Because he's going to justify his elect. All right. So let's run this back real quick.
Of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the character.
Well, who gave them black culture? Who turned around and said that they were black, period? Blumenbach? You're the one who classified nations by color. All right, you did that. You did that cut. You the one that placed that covering cast over the people, and you are not white. You classified yourself as white because you know when you look at the dictionary of the word white and what it represents and what it means, it was all psychological what these devils did, saying that we were black and they were white. You compare skin tone, nobody's black, nobody's white. All right, and all you gave Jake's scraps. Okay, you everything that you did to Jake, Jake ended up channeling their inner expression, and it became a culture to him through the music, through the food that they cook. All right.
Characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete. They are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy, they look like Satan in how.
Wow. Now let me go. Let's go back to that thread. Oh, damn it! I didn't mean to do that. Let's do this. Yeah, this right here. Here we go. Let's go to that thread. And let's see who's the grapists, the murderers. Convicted murderer Wilbert Baldwin, the Jake on the left, killed convicted child rapist Ernest Nichols inside prison in North Carolina. All Jake did was get justice for that 15-year-old, which, he shouldn't have done it. Wow. Got it. And got 18 years. Jake ended up handling that problem because he would have been back on the street and he would have did it to somebody else. Trump's former spiritual advisor. I wonder what this devil would think about this whole entire this thread right here. Former Texas megachurch pastor Robert Morris pleads guilty to sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl in the 1980s and will serve just 6 months. That's all he can get, just 6 months. Let that have been a Jake. Diddy about to do 4+ years. And everything he did was with consenting adults. It was all freaks, but it was all consensual. White woman sees Jake man, black man babysitting white kids, assumes kidnapping, stalks him store to store and calls police. Cops even stopped him at home in a blatant case of racial profiling. I don't even know why Jake even put himself in that position. I would never. Breaking, school bus driver arrested for raping 13-year-old girl for 10 straight months. I think I might have brought this one out in that other video. See, so you see how they just project, all these things about us that they themselves are doing. Look at this. I don't know if this post right here is meant to be sarcastic or if this person is just hurt because their fucking nature is being projected for the world to see. So who's dangerous? Who's violent? Who's hypersexual? There are all these complaints. This is basically just a white hate account now. All you do is talk about white criminals who aren't even the ones committing most crimes. So they hate it when you do with them that they're doing to you, because they all are in agreement. They all clapping their hands. This is why they hero a motherfucker like Charlie Kirk. But now that it's being shown back in their face what they're doing, it's a problem. So this is why this devil's feeling violent. This is why he, we got to get them. We got to get rid of these people. It says, well, why don't we just look at the data? I think I brought this out as well. These are probably closer to the true statistical data and not the ones that Esau fabricates. All right, because he's a forger of lies, man. White mother identified as Krista Roy shoots and stabs her own 16-year-old son in bed. Wow. Convicted sex offender with 38 prior arrests caught kidnapping high school student, injected him with unknown drugs that knocked him out cold near campus. And you already know what he was trying to do. This is a good thread right here, man. Arizona, the state legislator, John Gillette, has called for the execution. So they want to call for the death of everybody all of a sudden. You see this, right? So it's just like right now, this is just what they own right now. Okay? That's why you got this devil sitting here projecting.
They act. They are sinful to the core. They have besetting sins that are like fatherlessness, sexual immorality. They molest children at a high rate.
Now you just gotta laugh when you hear all this shit. You just gotta laugh, man. We could just keep running through this thread here. And this is what these devils been doing since the beginning, man. I don't even know what's going on with this story. And then this guy, they saying that I honestly believe he's just there, he might be a patsy or something like this, but they're saying that he was the one that started those fires in the Palisades in Cali early this year. They was having those wildfires that burned down all those homes. I believe it was a dew that they were using, but he could have been used, or they might just be using him as a patsy. But hey, another Edomite, another so-called white face, responsible for another crime. All right? Because everywhere this devil goes, it's just, why is it just so much destruction? I think yep, so let me. So there's 18 pages of just all current, and this is all current. And this is even getting everything that these devils are doing. So I'm glad like they're documenting everything just to show these Edomites that they're the biggest hypocrites known to man. A former Arizona Cardinals star identified as Wesley Lisi wrongfully detained at gunpoint by cops at Sky Harbor Airport while picking up his daughter, only to apologize when they realized the real killer was a devil. Come on, man. They ain't gonna talk about this stuff. White daycare owner leaves 2-year-old black boy unattended for hours while she napped, letting her Rottweilers maul him to death in horrific attack. Yeah, because she could care less. Like, this, come on now. Knowing that she had dogs, Rottweilers, she didn't care. She probably slept good too. And she woke up and saw what happened, and it probably didn't even move her. You just look at her. Just look at her stone cold face. Like, and so what? Shit, I was sleeping. A little cares a little nigger, you know. It's all bro. So the scriptures talk about that their anger would tear perpetually. Trump supporter arrested for trying to pay 12-year-old girl $100 for sex and senior living. Community wanted to bang her on Father's Day in Greenfield, Indiana. Yep, sounds about right. White adoptive parents guilty of suffocating their 66-year-old daughter to death and burying her in backyard for 4 years while scamming Medicaid for $27,000 in fake subsidies in Rose Hill, Kansas. And I'm glad that they're showing their faces too, because they always show Jake's face. They make sure as soon as soon as it goes national, the news about a crime goes national, Jake's face immediately is shown. They automatically know the suspect. Ohio Chick-fil-A owner Stacey Austin has been arrested for driving over 400 miles to North Carolina with the ill intentions to meet a 15-year-old child on a Sunday.